How's it going, everyone? Back again with another figure, this time of the MAFEX Magneto, based on the Age of Apocalypse look that he has. I've been sitting on this figure for a good while. I just never got around to opening it until now. So here's the packaging. This is pretty much the kind of standard MAFEX affair that most other of the Marvel or DC superheroes that MAFEX have made have kind of come in. So it's that kind of square package littered with just photos of the figure. So you got that nice window display box as well, showing you the figure Magneto right there, looking really cool. It comes with a helmet there, just a helmet on its own, and then comes with a helmet with a blacked out face, which is a really cool effect. That's something that's quite unique to this figure, I feel. And then you got one where it's just got the unmasked head with the kind of ponytails coming out as well. So really cool looking figure, really cool looking design of Magneto. He's not going to be for everyone. Remember, this is the Age of Apocalypse one, not the actual regular kind of Magneto that people are kind of more familiar with the purple cape, I believe it is. But otherwise, yeah, packaging is quite standard. You've got loads of photos in and all around the packaging. I'm going to show you the top and the bottom here. You come with a few different effect parts here, just a couple right there, but otherwise pretty light on the kind of option extra parts really. And this is Magneto out of the box. We'll go through the option parts first, and then we'll go through the figure. So first you get a basic MAFEX stand. So this is pretty common for majority of MAFEX figures. The stand may differ ever so slightly depending on the figure, but generally you get the base, you get the actual arm, and then that's kind of segmented in different places. Screw them or unscrew them if they're a little bit too tight or too loose, and then you get this claw piece. So I've already assembled everything here. It's not the best of stands, but at least they give you one, unlike SH Figuarts. But it's okay. If you've got other stands, better stands out there, I would say use your other stands. Now this Magneto comes with a few different open palm hands. So first in my right hand is going to be one which is fairly relaxed. You can use this in less animated poses where he's a little bit relaxed, maybe just standing there. I kind of like it to just kind of put this hand on top of like his helmet if he's resting on a table or something like that. Every single hand is colored in this nice metallic purple that you can see here. This kind of colorway is also on the other parts of the purple on the figure, which we'll get to. This one is slightly more open. You can see I feel this is a little bit more of a serious animated hand there. And then you get his kind of classic using the actual magnetism powers that he has, and this is just kind of open and spread like so. You can kind of see the fabric kind of molding there, which is pretty cool too. Again, nice purple color going on there. The actual effect parts are also hands, so I'll talk about those now too as well. So this one, you've got a pair of them, so this already has the actual effect part attached to it. To be honest, you know, I would have been fine if they just included just the effect part and then you attach it to the hand. But I think just maybe because it was easier, they just pre-attached it and supplied it as is. So you get the pair of them. You can't change this out, but it does look pretty good. You can kind of see the translucency and the light kind of going through onto my actual palms and fingers, which I think is very cool. So play around with the lighting conditions you've got on your setup, and that should look very, very sweet. They are a little bit on the weighted side, by the way. Let me just bring those again. They are a bit on the heavy side, so they could impact the way that his arms hang and stuff, depending on your own display and setup. Magneto also comes with a couple of different head swaps. So by default, you've got the one where he's got the helmet on and you can see his face. And then in my left hand here, you've got one where the face is blacked out and you see the white eyes, which I think is very cool. Play around with the lighting and your setup on this, because this is going to look great. So you can see the lighting here is not so great, and I think it looks better for it. If you've got too much of a bright light showing on, then you might end up seeing like the skin on his neck, and that doesn't really look as good. It's still a very cool head sculpt, definitely for sure. You can't take the hair off or anything like that. I mean, you probably could, you could try, but you don't need to. Just do a straight head swap with this, which I'll show you later on in the end of this video. Now with the hair, this is going to be the same for every single thing, every head sculpt. With the little kind of ponytail bits here, just be kind of mindful of it. You can see the little purple bits here that go through on both strands and every head sculpt. They are quite flimsy, so my concern here is at any one of these 3 points, it could end up cracking and therefore eventually ultimately breaking off. Now, it hasn't happened to me yet, but it does feel super duper flimsy, so just keep that in mind. Now this is Magneto without his helmet on. So again, this is the Age of Apocalypse version. So this has got this different hairstyle. It's not got his classic hairstyle, which is much shorter, still mid-length, but this is now the long length hair, which I think looks really cool. I love the head sculpt on this. Some of MAFEX's head sculpts, the way they are, it really does depend on the lighting that you've got. Now, if it's too much bright light, then it can look a little bit plain, a little bit boring. But generally speaking, I think it looks great. I think the way that the actual sculpt is, and then the contouring, because of it, the way the light works on it, it can kind of make it look really cool, really fierce and really powerful. Like so you can see kind of shadow being formed on the left side of the face. I think it just looks like a very strong kind of face sculpt. Really like it. Profile is great as well. Otherwise the hair is nicely sculpted as well, and also nicely colored too. You've got this nice grey silver kind of fox looking hair going on. It's really, really cool. Just like I said with the other head sculpt, that these little tassel bits here, his ponytails, just be mindful of that because I have a feeling they may end up breaking on people. And then you get his actual helmet with no face in there at all. You can see there's a bit of a gap there. You could probably try to do something, but this is probably just to use this and this separately. So you attach this head sculpt and then he could be holding onto his helmet, for example. Just one way to display it if you want to. But it's cool that they gave it nonetheless. Now, I believe Age of Apocalypse helmet is slightly different. There are little bits of difference between Age of Apocalypse Magneto and then a regular kind of looks, and that might be, say, things like this, the purple trims here might be a bit different. This bit here can sometimes differ as well, even with regular Magneto, but there are differences here and there depending on your preference, if you prefer regular Magneto versus the Age of Apocalypse Magneto, which is right here. I'm going to go through him. Now, this is the Age of Apocalypse Magneto. Now, once again, this is a bit different from your classic Magneto, so some of you may not like it for that reason. For example, the cape. That's the most notorious and standout thing that I find is different. He usually has a purple cape. This one has a red cape. I like it personally. Now, in terms of overall looks, oh, by the way, let me just stop there. There is a regular version of Magneto or classic Magneto by MAFEX coming out later on this year as well, so pre-order that. Links down below too. Now, first up with this Age of Apocalypse Magneto, I keep kind of tripping up over that long title. So this Magneto straight away does look super good. It's quite kind of, you know, I would say what you would expect in terms of MAFEX superhero figures at this point. Whether you collect DC or Marvel, you should know what to expect here, and I like it for that. I think it just looks great, and automatically I know straight away this is going to fit in with the other kind of figures that you may have. I know what I've got as well, and it just looks great. It looks really, really great. Nice solid sculpting, very clean looking sculpt as well. Everything just looks really, really great. Now, I'm going to go just talk about the cape first in detail, and then we'll go through top to bottom, head to toe. So his cape is fabric. It's not going to be a plastic sculpted cape. You don't get that at all. This is the one and only cape that you get in this box, and I love it. Now, I don't know what the actual material is. It could be polyester, it could be viscose. I actually have no idea. All I know is I really like it. It is wired down this side here, and then symmetrically wired down here as well. There is no wire down at the bottom or anything like that. When you get it out of the box, it is actually much more nicer. It is kind of flat and ironed pretty well. Mine's a bit scruffy now because I've been playing around with it, but just give it a quick iron. It should be okay. You can therefore, because of the wires, pose it and get it kind of sticking around and swaying, if you like that. A bit like Superman and Batman from the MAFEX line as well. I personally do like that. I know it's not for everyone, but yeah, that's for me. I like it. And again, the material and the color of it just really stands out for me. I love it. Now, that particular color, I think it matches the red on his outfit as well. Generally speaking, it's got, both of those have this kind of magnetic-ish paint or color to it. It's a magnetic sheen here and then sort of magnetic-ish paint to the reds on his actual costume too, which I just think looks great. I think that complements each other really, really nicely. It's not for everyone again, but honestly, yeah, I quite like it. Now, going from head to toe, now you've got the helmet again, like I said, could be a little bit different compared to the regular classic Magneto. That's okay. It's got a nice profile, nice sculpting overall going on there. This one is pre-attached with the actual non-blacked out face of Magneto there, you can see, and he's kind of gritting his teeth, which I think looks pretty good. You're gonna have to get some good lighting in there just to kind of get it showing properly. He's got his eyes there too with the eyebrows showing. Really nice kind of sculpt overall. Once again, you got the hair tassels here, and I would say be careful with those because of these hair tassels. That does restrict articulation. That will end up catching at the mantle piece here, and that could further damage that bit. Could. It hasn't happened, but it could. Going further down, and actually speaking of the mantelpiece here, it is plugged into his, I guess, collarbone-ish, just at the pecs there. Behind this bit is plugged into the actual figure there on the chest, and then actually you can lift this. Let me just bring that down. You can kind of lift it up back here. You can kind of see that a little bit, right? So it's just plugged in at that point there. If you want to remove it, you probably could, but you're going to have a gaping hole there. I'm not going to take mine out because underneath you can see it's kind of finished quite neatly, so I'm going to leave it as is. You can see this is how it's going to look when you lift the actual cape up, so you've got plenty of clearance for his arms. Generally speaking, his top is pretty plain with that red. There's not much going on with his outfit. You got his arms here, which have the purple metal colorway going on in a patterned way on his forearms, and then the hands as well are going to be fully painted in that nice metallic purple, which is great. I really love the purple on this. Coming down to his waist, you can see this little belt bit is kind of moving here. It's attached actually at the back right there behind this bit, but it does shift up and down a little bit, so you can kind of play around with that depending on the pose that you got in. It is quite useful to have. Then you've just got the purple underwear, overwear, and then going further down to his legs, it's going to be red again. Kneecaps look slightly, ever so slightly shade different, but that could vary based on unit of figure to unit of figure. I've got a couple of blemishes on my figure as well, sadly. And then the boots kind of mimic the forearm look as well, with that purple kind of blocked out pattern or rectangular pattern cut out. And then again with the nice metallic purple. This is the underside of his shoes to kind of show you that too. Fairly basic figure. He's got fairly basic color blocking to him. So does classic Magneto. But generally, yes, I do like the way that this Magneto looks. Very good stuff. And in terms of articulation, Magneto is very similar to most of the superhero MAFEX out there. You've got the head articulation, which swivels and looks right and left. As I said, because of his long hair, these can get caught into his mantelpiece there, so just keep that in mind. You don't want to accidentally damage the hair further, so that does restrict it ever so slightly. It's going to be the same way for whichever head sculpt you use. Sadly, he can look up a decent amount, of down and up. Again, when you do down too much, I just get worried that his helmet will kind of cut into his hair. The back mullet bit here, you can see, does restrict how his head moves up, but it's still a decent amount to move up. As I mentioned before, this mantelpiece here does lift up on the back as well, so you can kind of get him up and flying. It looks pretty cool. And then for the actual torso bit, you can twist and bend. Pretty good. Pretty much the same as most other MAFEX figures there. Same for the lower waist as well. And then, as I mentioned, you've got that little belt bit that can shift up if you kind of have him bent up, however you've got him displayed. Down for the legs, then you can swivel there. And then actually, this leg of mine is a little bit clumsy, sadly. So let me just kind of show you. You got that usual inner joint bit there. You can see the crotch bit right there. My one doesn't work on the actual left leg, and it's quite loose. You can kind of see right here, it's quite loose on just that, on that up and down motion, whereas on the right leg it stays. That's unfortunate, but that's just the case with my one. It can happen with some MAFEX figures. I am a little bit disappointed in that, because it just means I can't have his leg kind of hung out a bit. I can't give him to do a side kick, for example. He just droops down. It does happen though. It does happen with some MAFEX figures, but I don't think I've had it with any of my MAFEX figures apart from him. So yeah. Then anyway, we've got the knee, which is a nice knee bend. Again, very similar to most other MAFEX superhero figures there. And then you've got the ankle kind of pivot motion. All of that, again, same as most other figures really. And then that little what's it called again? Toe hinge, that's the name of it. And then coming back up to the arms, you do have plenty of clearance once you move his cape. Even with the cape covering it, there's plenty of clearance to move his shoulders. That's his bicep there. You can move his shoulders in, around, and then out as well, and then kind of bring them forward here, you can see. And then yeah, this is how far he's going to bring it in. So it's pretty good. Got the bicep cut there, elbow like so, and then the hands are going to do all the classic stuff. Hands are going to be slightly, ever so slightly restricted once you got the option part with the magnetic effect on, but not a huge deal. It still looks pretty good. So all in all, articulation is pretty good, and yeah, it works as intended. Just my one is just a little bit kind of clumsy, like I said, with his left leg, which I am kind of salty about. Now then, let's swap some parts. I'm going to take off Magneto's default head and just take it off like so. Pull it off at the helmet. It comes off completely all together, so you shouldn't need to worry about that. Here's a quick look at what that looks like with his neck there. Pretty much what you might be used to with, say, Batman MAFEX, Spider-Man MAFEX, etc. I'm going to put on the blacked out helmet. Yeah, why not? Let's just do that very quickly. You can just line it up and then click it into place, and there you go. I'm going to kind of put my hand here just to get a little bit of shadow casting of it, and I think it looks super good. This blacked out face just looks super kind of scary actually. So again, play around with the lighting on your setup to get that perfect look. I'm going to take this off again, and then I'm going to swap it in with just the zero helmet look with just Magneto there. You can kind of see a full look of what he looks like without the helmet, which is great. You can have him holding his helmet if you like. We're going to change his hands out for one of the magnetic pieces. Let me make sure I got the right one, which I believe that's the wrong hand. Let's do this one here. So as I said, this one, the hand, that was the right one, my bad. So as I said before, the magnetic piece is a bit weighted. It's a big solid piece of plastic with translucency to it. So depending on how you do it, or if your figure's got a clumsy kind of loose joint, how my leg was here, then that might droop it down. But for now, it seems to be okay. So get him into a cool pose with the magnetic hand. You can see his fingertips going through there, which is very cool. I love the translucency on this. As I said earlier on, play around with the lighting so you can kind of have that light effect of bouncing in and around your display. It's going to look awesome. I can tell it's just going to look so good. Play around with him with that, and that's going to look great. And then, to be honest, that's pretty much it in terms of swapping his parts. He doesn't really come with a lot. The rest of the hands, you know how to swap the hand. And then similarly, if you want to swap back the head. So there's nothing else to change with him. But it's still going to be enough to kind of get him into some cool, wicked poses that Magneto is known for. Overall then, this is a very solid Magneto figure. Now if you do prefer classic Magneto, as I mentioned earlier, that one is going to be out later this year and it's available for pre-order, so I'll leave links in the description below if you do prefer that. This Age of Apocalypse Magneto, I'm not sure 100% if it's available. It may not be because it's been out for a while now, but if you can pick it up and you don't mind which Magneto you get, yeah, this is a very cool looking figure for sure. I love the way his cape turned out, and the overall figure itself, in terms of the way it looks, sculpted, articulated, is pretty good. Sadly, yes, that leg is clumsy of mine. It can happen to any figure, not just MAFEX. I just got unlucky there. That's a shame, but still, it's a great looking figure. Would I prefer a little bit more extra parts? Maybe. I'm not really sure what I'd expect from maybe like a chair, a throne, I don't know. But this is a very solid MAFEX superhero figure for sure. If you're collecting all the MAFEX stuff, especially when it pertains to X-Men, this one should be something you would want to check out. Again, if you don't want to have this version and you prefer classic Magneto, wait for that one, pre-order that one. They're probably going to be quite same in functionality, but of course the actual design of them is going to be different. Either way, I'll say it like this: very solid figure from MAFEX. All that said, thank you very much for stopping by and checking out this Magneto figure with me. Let me know what you thought of this figure down in the comments below. Let me know what else you're looking forward to from the MAFEX superhero line of figures. See you next time.